I needed a space with other moms who are therapists who could hear the phrase that I'm going to say in a moment, who could hear this for what it was, not the way that it sounded.
Mm-hmm.
I don't always like being a mom.
Welcome, y'all, back to another episode. On this episode, we have a very special guest, Miss Mackenzie.
Hi.
Hey, girlfriend, welcome. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. As you said, my name is Mackenzie. I am a therapist, mental health therapist in Missouri. I work with moms. I'm a mom myself. I have an almost 8-year-old sassy little girl. Yeah, I'm originally from Iowa, but I've been in Missouri for 24 years. I came here for grad school and never left.
Never left. Love that.
Yep.
How's your mental health right now? You doing okay?
Mine?
Yes.
Oh, girl. It's always a process.
Yep.
So it's actually really great today. Thank you for asking, because I had my own therapy yesterday.
Yeah, listen, I just said today, I feel all therapists need therapists. There's nothing wrong with that. Yes.
We do. Yeah. And it's funny that you say that. If I can tell just a quick little story. Yeah. When I was in undergrad in Iowa, I took a counseling class. I didn't know that I wanted to be a social worker yet and whatnot. And I just took like a beginning counseling class, and they were talking about that. And I was like, what? Like, why?
It sounds
I
crazy.
didn't understand it. I'm like, what? And then after I decided to become a social worker and whatnot, and I started my own therapy just because I wanted to, I was like, oh,
yeah,
I get it now.
We all need
I get it now. I get it.
Yep.
So, yeah. And we all need our own therapist.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
Nothing at all. So the first thing I really just want to ask you is, what inspired you to get on the track? Because I know you said that you didn't know originally when you first started the course. So what drove you to do it?
So my mom was a yes, she was. She doesn't practice anymore, but she was a social worker when I was growing up. So when I knew I wanted to work with people, I didn't know in what capacity. I didn't know that I wanted to do therapy. I didn't know. There's so many, as a social worker especially, there's so many like different things that you can do. So so I just decided I wanted to get my master's degree. My mom told me I had to get my master's degree, and I do what my mommy tells me.
Right. Mama knows best.
Mama knows best. Yeah. And so that's when I came to St. Louis, and I started working with kids, and I've worked with all populations. And so now I'm working with moms because honestly, that's what I needed. I have a infertility story that we'll save for another day. And then when we were able to adopt our daughter, that in itself was just a crazy time. And then being a mom and working, and I actually got sick and I needed to change jobs. And so I just needed a community of people. And I'm like, well, I'm in the thick of it, so I may as well like kind of help support other moms. And then I kind of also veered into helping therapist moms through my Theramama group. So yeah, it's kind of a big circle.
It's really major, because I feel like moms are kind of underrepresented in a way. Like we kind of overlook, like, but women are already stigmatized as strong, so we don't really think, oh, they don't need any help, they got it. But no, we need help. We need help.
Preaching to the choir. Absolutely.
Yes.
And we're not ones to ask for it. And that is why it's so important that we do ask for it. We do get help. We do at least have a community of people that, if it's not a therapist, that we can be like, hey, this really sucks today. Like, this is really hard today.
Community is important.
Yeah. And so in my work, I'm trying to destigmatize that, because being a mom is hard. Whether you're a stay-at-home mom, it doesn't matter. It is hard. It is really hard.
And like, I'm not a mom, so I can't speak from personal experience, but I am a daughter. So I saw my mom, growing up as a single parent. So you see it, we see it and we hear it. And it's just important to listen, be active listeners. Because, like I said, I hadn't experienced it, but I can empathize with people and I can understand what they're going through and I
Absolutely.
can try to understand.
And I want to be clear too that the term mom doesn't necessarily have to be like you birthed a child, because I've
Mm-hmm.
never birthed a child and I'm a mom.
Right.
I also have four-legged children. I have two
Same.
dogs. So,
At
and
one.
if you have nieces and nephews or
Mm-hmm.
your friends have kids, you're still
Or your little siblings, even.
exactly. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
you're still a nurturer. And so
Right.
maybe that's what we need to call it instead of moms.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who nurtures, anyone who has any influence over a smaller person is still
A
susceptible
mom
to that
figure.
stress. Exactly. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
big. So,
Yeah.
how is social work different from other mental health professions like a psychologist or a psychiatrist?
hmm So I'm going to go backwards. Psychiatrists prescribe medication, so
Mm-hmm.
they are an MD, so they have to go to medical school.
Right.
A psychologist, I think there's a small pocket of psychologists, I'm not 100% sure on this, that can prescribe medication, but they don't typically. They do, psychologists can do more like testing,
Mm-hmm.
like for learning disabilities, stuff like that. LPCs, like a licensed professional counselor, they not strictly, but they do more counseling,
Mm-hmm.
as do social workers. But social workers also have kind of a like a systems approach, and I have a lot of LPCs that I work with, and our colleagues and whatnot. And so like when I first started, gosh, it was during grad school, it was in my for my internship, I worked in a residential facility, and so there's
Okay.
just a lot more of the whole system that we like. Think about it as like resources. Like a
Mm-hmm.
social worker would have a lot of like resources that they can hook people up with. Not to say that LPCs can't, but that's if we're separating the tracks. That's
Right.
kind of
And
how
I love how everybody does work together. Like, it's
Mhm.
not,
Yeah.
every man for himself out there. We're a big team for you, a
Everyone
support group.
should work
Yeah,
together.
yeah, yeah. Like, I don't know yet, y'all. I haven't. You just gave me an idea though with the residential. I haven't even thought about that
hmm
for
Yeah.
the internship. I need to
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
do some more.
I learned so much there. So much. It
I
was
feel
a
like
good
that's my
start.
biggest goal, to just take the most that I can from it, even if it's not the setting that I work in. I just want to
Right.
learn as much as
Absolutely.
possible. That's my
Absolutely.
goal.
Yeah.
Stepping.
That's awesome. I love
So, what's
that.
your specialties?
Oh, my specialties. So I am an EMDR.
Hmm.
Are you familiar with that?
I am, but I want you to tell
Okay.
the people.
Okay, all right. So EMDR is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing.
Hmm.
It's basically a trauma treatment modality, and it uses, without getting too technical, because I'm not a technical person
Right.
anyway. I don't like your hypothalamus. No, I don't. So basically, when we go through, and like when I say trauma, again, trauma doesn't have to be like a huge incident,
Hmm.
like a car accident or the death of a loved one or anything like that. It can be like, I tripped and fell and someone laughed at me.
Right.
Because what happens is that from these experiences, we learn things about ourselves and the world. And every time that is triggered, it is reinforced for us. And so, if anyone kind of feels like I'm not good enough, that more than likely came from a trauma.
Hmm.
I'm too much, that came from a trauma. And so we call them big T and little t. Like your big traumas, accident, death of a loved one, stuff like that. Little traumas, I tripped and someone laughed at me.
Hmm.
So a lot of them come from childhood.
Yep.
And so yeah, it's really do that type of work with my clients and see, and I do my own work. I had my own EMDR intensive yesterday, 3 hours of processing, and
Man.
whew, it's intense, but
Yes, it sounds
so
intense.
it is. My clients love it. I love it. As the therapist, it's it's life-changing. I love it. It's so great. So so I do that, and I do traditional talk therapy. I offer cognitive based therapy, CBT, mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, like breathing techniques, coping skills, stuff like that. So managing anxiety, depression, again, anything that kind of comes along with trauma.
You know, I've been thinking because, as I told you, I'm in grad school and they're telling us that it's time for us to try to pick our own techniques and like where we want to go. How did you decide where you wanted to go with it?
I have no idea.
Yes. Oh, you know,
I
right.
have been in practice for so long,
It was
and
just a natural thing.
yeah, I think it's just kind of like what feels natural to you. And honestly, I'm the type of person, I don't like the hip things. Like, I don't, everybody was doing EMDR, EMDR, EMDR. I'm like,
The trendy things, yeah.
no, like, I don't, yes, I don't want anything to do with that. It's no. And then I did my own session, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go get trained. So,
Like, that's why they like
right,
it.
that's why everybody's doing this.
I tell people at least try to get your own experience of it, because some things might be
Mhm.
really good in the media, but you don't like it, or really bad and you do like it. So just try to get your own experiences.
And as a culture, like, we just kind of overdo things. Like, there are like phrases. I can't do unprecedented. Like, if I hear that word one more time, I'm gonna lose.
It's the diabolical for me.
Oh, interesting.
I keep seeing it. I'm like, where did we get this from? Why do we keep seeing it?
And like self-care is so overused. We have killed the word. Like, the meaning of it is just dead to everyone, because you need self-care, you need self-care. And I say, I am your self-care mom-panion.
Right.
Like, I will help you with that. And people are like, I don't want to go get a manicure every week. That's what I'm asking you to do. Like,
right. It doesn't have to be.
I have to really be intentional about what I'm saying to people as far as like self-care goes. But really, yeah, your niche, the people that you work with, the modalities that you use, they're going to evolve as you evolve as a clinician. And it's just going to kind of be like what's natural for you. So
that makes me feel really good.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest challenges that you see from your clients as they come in that you have to help them overcome?
A lot of it, because we're women, a lot of it is mom guilt, self-doubt, just perfectionism. Like, we want to be the perfect parent. There's a lot of stigma, there's a lot of pressure, and a lot of it is self-imposed, but we just live in a society where there's so much just pressure for us to do it all as moms, like you said earlier, and as women, and then we aren't given the same opportunities or the same pay and all of that stuff. And so there's just a lot that we just have to talk through and recognize that we're really just doing the best that we can, and that has to be enough at some point. And it has to be enough for us. It doesn't matter what everybody else thinks. And so kind of wrapping our head around that. And I've had to do that work myself. And that was why I got sick a few years ago and had to come back to private practice, which I'm so thankful. You know, everything happens for a reason. But in the midst of it, it was awful. And just kind of battling that I'm not a good mom. I'm not doing all the things all the time. And it's just a lot. It's a lot for women. And so they just need a safe space to say those things. And to be perfectly honest, I needed a space. So when I started my Theramama group, I needed a space with other moms who are therapists, who could hear the phrase that I'm going to say in a moment, who could hear this for what it was, not the way that it sounded. I don't always like being a mom.
Right.
That doesn't mean that I don't love my child. That doesn't mean that like I'm going to like leave or anything, but I don't always enjoy parts of motherhood. And I needed other people to be like,
Me too.
too. And when I got that, I was like, oh my gosh, I found my people.
I know it's a relief to not feel alone.
100%.
It has to be a relief to not feel alone. It's crazy that you bring up the mom guilt, because I spoke with another lady recently, a mother, and she was telling me how she felt guilt when she first had her child. She didn't feel as excited as she felt she should feel. And I thought that was interesting, because we like just put these pressures on people about how they should like, you know, like having a kid seems like a lot. Like you said, even if you don't physically birth one, just having a child, having someone else, like this new part of your life, that can be overwhelming. And we should let people feel that, you know?
Yes.
It's
I don't let people use the word should in my office, because should is such a judgmental word.
Yes.
Sometimes they find an equally negative replacement, so we have to get rid of that one too. But should puts a lot of pressure. Like I can see people's shoulders like sweltering with the pressure that they're putting on themselves, that they should do this, that, and the other. And so the rule in my office is don't should all over yourself, because
I like that. I'm gonna have to take that with me, Mackenzie. I'm gonna definitely take that with me. I'm definitely that is I like that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I like that, because that is really, really true, and I say it a lot.
We all do,
and don't even realize
so aware of every time you say it. So just change the sentence.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like,
I want to, or I don't want to, and yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What's your method of breaking that habit of saying that word?
Again, being almost hyper aware of saying it. And I ask people, and I always want to explain this part, because I think this is the most important part for this, is for them to either write it down or verbally speak it out loud. We can do whatever we want in our head to justify things, to find some wiggle room. But when you see a negative statement written down in black and white, it's ugly. And I want people to see that for a reason, because it draws their attention to it. It feels gross, and a little bit of exposure therapy maybe.
Right.
It feels yucky to see that, wow, that's what I think about it, or to speak it out loud. For your own ears to hear that is really powerful. And then I ask them to either rewrite it in a more positive way or speak it out loud in a more positive way. So like if you said like, I should clean my room, let's change that. Like, I want to clean my room because it makes me feel better. It makes me feel like, you know, I've got everything in its place, and that just makes me feel good. That is way less judgy than
way less pressure. All of that. I like that. Okay. Reconstructing our whole thought process.
Yep.
Okay, Miss Mackenzie, I'm having my own little therapy session this morning.
I'll send you a bill.
So do you have any advice for anybody who's thinking about going into this line of work? Anybody thinking about just being in the mental health field, period?
Yeah. Gosh, I could be here all day with advice.
Right. I need it too.
Yeah. I mean, if I had it my way, every single person would be in therapy, because we all need it. We just do. Not because we're sick, or because we're depressed, or because we're anxious, but because we live in a crazy, crazy world, and it's just getting crazier by the day. And all of the pressures and whatnot. There's plenty of people who be therapists and who need therapists. So it may seem like an area is oversaturated, or there's so many therapists. It doesn't matter, because every single person, like you may be one of 10 people that offer the same thing, the same modality, the same hours, whatnot. You bring a different way of approaching and presenting than the next person. And so you are going to find the people that you want to work with. They're going to find you.
Mhm.
And yeah, it'll be fine.
I
Everyone will be
appreciate that.
fine.
I really do appreciate that, because you hear, oh, it's oversaturated and it's 20 people. I'm like, no, if you want to do it, because you're gonna bring a different style, a whole different unique approach, like you said. So
Yeah.
somebody needs you,
Yeah.
and you need somebody.
It took me way too long to learn that. And
Yes.
so I love sharing that with other people, because I spent a lot of time not feeling that way, that
Hmm.
I was just another therapist. And so over the last couple of years, um, I've gotten
And I love that for you.
narrowed in. Thank you. I
Of
love it
course.
too.
Yes.
It's really just kind of living just authentically, and how I am right now is how I am in my daily life, with my family, with my clients. That's just who I am. And I don't think that we have to change ourselves to be therapists. Like, I am not the therapist that sits there and just nods.
Right. On the couch with the notepad and
I mean, I might have a notepad, but I'm also throwing out some F-bombs
yeah.
and some, what did you just say? Like, I'm holding people accountable. And yeah.
And a lot of people appreciate that more natural, authentic approach.
Yep. And
Rather
some
than
people
it being
don't, and that's okay. There's another therapist out there for them. I
Mhm.
am not it, and that's okay.
Yeah, and that's fine. Exactly. Because like there's so many people in the world, and we don't need every therapist to be the same, because
No,
how are we
no.
going to help everybody? Or
Yeah,
how did it come about? How did you start working with just moms or for moms?
mm-hmm. So when, gosh, again, I've worked in many different areas of
Mhm.
the field. And after my daughter was born, she was born in October. The following January, I got a cold, and I was working for a hospice company, and I never got over the cold. Like 4 months long, it just got worse and worse and worse. I ended up in the hospital for 3 days. And yeah, and so no one knew what was wrong with me, pumped me full of antibiotics, and my husband and I decided that I could not continue to go at the pace that I was,
Mhm.
to try and do everything. I was making her baby food and using like all of my energy to focus on her, and then working long hours, and it just wasn't sustainable. And
Mhm.
so with that came a whole lot of conversation, a whole lot of soul searching. And when you're working for another company and you're tired of it, you're like, okay, where else do I want to go? What do I want to do? Everything came back to, I don't want to leave the field. Like, I don't want to not be a social worker anymore. Like, that's what I'm meant to do.
Mhm.
And so I had done part-time private practice before, and I worked with kids. I don't work with kids anymore. And I'm like, let's try it, see what happens. It was very scary because I always carried our insurance. My husband worked for a smaller company, and their health insurance just wasn't great. So
Mhm.
he assured me things would be fine, and they were. And so I just started with a group practice, and I fell in love with doing it full time. And I was like, okay, let's do this. And eventually I went out on my own. Now I have a collective, other people are in my space. And then again, just kind of wanting to support other moms who I knew they were going through similar things. Again, that pressure of feeling like they have to do it all, that they want to do it all, that they want to be perfect, but also the pull. I've never wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I'm not that personality. I will go crazy. I will not be happy.
Same. I have to work. I like work.
Exactly. And that is frowned upon sometimes. And trying to manage the two, I guess, opposites of, I want to work, but I also want to be a parent, and a good one. How do you make that work? And I knew that other people were struggling with that. And I did some coaching, and I started recognizing the people that, like, we're not supposed to have favorite clients, but we do. That
Mm-hmm.
really, I'm like, yes, I get to see so and so today. They were moms. They were struggling with the same things that I was struggling with, and I'm like, okay, this is my niche, because I need to help these people. I want to help them. I want them to feel better, and it just kind of happened.
That's actually beautiful. So how can people get involved? Is it only in person? Do you do virtual?
I do. I do both. I
Okay.
prefer in person because I just like to be in person. It's
Yes.
after COVID and
Hmm.
working
Now
at
it's just
home
like,
for
yeah.
2 years, right? Yeah, I need people in my office,
Right.
and there's just a vibe, that
Hmm.
you get from being in person. And but I do have some clients I've never met them in person. I've
Hmm.
only seen them virtually, and that's totally fine. Virtual is just as effective. It's totally fine, and it
Yeah, I
works.
was just gonna ask, do you feel like it's if it's as effective as being in person?
Hmm. I do. I do.
Great. So
Yeah.
yeah, we can definitely plug your information below if anybody needs Mackenzie's help. Contact her.
Thanks.
She will
Yeah.
send the bill.
Well, I love
So
it.
how can a mom recognize that she may need help?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. I mean, does it ever hurt to talk to somebody?
Nope.
No, not at all.
Nope.
I think one of the big another stigma is that we can't handle it if we need to talk to somebody, if we want to talk to somebody, and that's not the case at all. Again, you said earlier, it's nice to know that you're not alone, 100%. And if that is the only reason you need to go talk to somebody, please do it. Please
Hmm.
do it. It doesn't The thing that I don't like about the way that our healthcare system is set up is that for someone to use insurance, I have to diagnose them with something. A lot of people come into my office and they don't have anything. Like they don't check all the boxes for anxiety or depression or adjustment disorder, whatever. And for insurance purposes, I have to choose one of those in order for them to pay me. So
Hmm.
it's really yucky. So,
Yeah, I still don't really understand or know how the insurance part of things work. I know I hear a lot of complaints from people and I see a lot of things on social media and I'm just like, dang, is it that bad?
oh yeah,
We have to do something about that.
load.
So
Yeah.
let me ask you, for moms who get therapy, how do you feel like that changes the parent-child relationship?
Oh, I mean, hopefully it
Right.
changes it for the better. I mean, there are times where relationships are not healthy, and it really just depends. Like for myself, I do a lot of work with my therapist on my relationship with my daughter and whatnot. And some of that stems from my relationship with my sister and from the past and whatnot. And so it's a work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully it changes it for the better. Sometimes I do work with people on, like, you have to set boundaries with your mom or your sister or your brother or whomever, because it's not a healthy relationship. So it's really whatever the client needs for them to feel like they are in control of what's going on, and it's a healthy balance for them. So really it just kind of depends. I've had yeah I've had both situations where, like, you have to set boundaries with this relationship, and every time we set boundaries, people are going to push that, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's a little child or an adult parent or friend or whomever. So yeah, it just kind of depends.
And you don't work with the children as well, right? Just the moms.
Correct. Yep. I
Okay.
just work with adults. I I don't have the skill set to work with kids. So yeah.
I get that. That's okay. Look, if you know your expertise. You know your expertise, and
Mhm.
moms need the help. Somebody else can do the children.
Exactly. And there is usually a referral, like, oh,
Yeah, I
maybe
was gonna say.
the little one should, go get some therapy too. So yeah,
And
it's
referrals go a long way too. So
uh,
you're still doing your part.
yep, exactly.
So, are there any mental health challenges that you see with the moms that aren't talked about a lot? Because I know for me, I see postpartum the most.
I was just
But
gonna say.
yeah, is there anything else that you see that isn't talked about a lot?
That's an excellent question. I think this maybe isn't answering your question directly, but I think that people recognizing what really is trauma and like outside of the traditional, like I talked earlier about the big T's and the
The
little.
big,
Yeah. Because I have said myself, well, I had a good childhood. Like I had, my parents were together. I had a sister. Like we grew up well. I felt loved. And at the same time, there's still some things that didn't go so great for me. And have kind of liken it to someone putting on sunglasses. What color are the lenses? People talk about rosy colored glasses, and all of these experiences are going to change the color of those lenses. And you will forever look through those lenses at the world. If you process through that trauma, and then the lens changes and everything looks different, and we want it to look better, obviously, and for us to understand that it wasn't my fault, I am good enough, or all of those things. I think for women, recognizing what trauma really is, reported under, it's not understood as well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, and I agree. I definitely agree because when you say that, I think about the fact that when you said, okay, I grew up in a two-parent household, a great home, and this, that, and the third. So it's almost like we tell ourselves, well, nothing can be wrong if I had all that. But it's beyond that. It goes further than that. You don't. And I see it all the time. We're just like, oh well, I grew up great, so I don't want to complain, or I don't want to say something's wrong, and we kind of invalidate what we're feeling.
We are so great as women at invalidating our own thoughts and our own feelings.
Like, it's bad.
It's really bad, yes, and we are masters at it. And
we are.
We're even worse, let me tell you. Yes, we just, we're bad.
Yeah.
We will like hype people up all day and put our own selves down all night. It's just,
that is so true. Why do we do that? Why do we will let the next woman know she is a boss?
Absolutely.
And then we're like, oh well, I'm not good enough. I'm like, no, you're a boss too.
I know. Yeah.
It is hard though. It's way easier said than done. It's way
absolutely. Yeah.
So what would you tell the guilty mother, the mom who feels like you know what the guilty mother is? What would you tell her?
I do. I would tell her that there is no such thing as a perfect parent, and that whatever she has to offer in that moment is good enough. And good enough is okay, because maybe the next moment is going to be more or better, or tomorrow she might have a little bit more to give.
Right.
Whatever you have right now is enough, and our kids just need us there, and they don't need perfection. They don't even know what perfection is.
I just like to say that they don't even know what that looks like. It's in your head,
Yeah. I always talk to my moms about, you'll understand Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the triangle. We need to invert that. And like when we're parents, we tend to take care of our kids' needs first, and then our spouse, partner, whoever, and then ourselves were last. We need to invert that, and we need to take care of ourselves first, because things trickle down. That whole happy wife, happy life, hate that phrasing, but the meaning behind it, when mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
It's a fact.
True. It's a fact. When I am well fed, well rested, I'm feeling good, I look cute, everybody is happy.
Everybody's happy.
I am. When I am in a bad mood, oh, watch out, everybody.
Mama Bell.
Right? Yes, it's true. It is. We are the heart of the home and the world, really. We need to be. everything kind of revolves around us in terms of just the family functioning. And so if we're not functioning well, what makes us think that anything else would function well?
Exactly. And that's with almost anything,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Do you ever have clients where they're in a bad relationship with their child? Maybe they're in like a no contact situation, or like they're not getting along. Do you ever have those type of situations you have to navigate?
I haven't had, I'm trying to think. I don't think I've had anyone who, like an adult child has
Mm-hmm.
cut them out. I don't think I've experienced that. I think more so on the other end of a parent needing to set boundaries with maybe their parent or their
Yes,
child.
on that end. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So do you see any like generational trauma trying to trickle down? Yes, that you have to. I already know.
Hmm.
I already know.
Hmm.
That's one of the biggest things I see. It's one of the hardest things I think to reverse too.
It is, because it has to stop somewhere. And so someone is trying to stop it, and the pushback. And I have to remind people that you can take this one too. Two opposing thoughts can be true at the same time. My mom was a great mom and I love her. And she wasn't there for me, as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't validate my feelings. Those are two very opposing thoughts that people struggle to have, because but my mom took care of me, she clothed me, blah blah blah. Okay, but she also told me I was stupid, or I wasn't good enough. It's hard for people. People want everything to be yes or no, right or wrong, black and
Black
white.
and white.
Our world is very gray, and it's hard, especially when there's trauma involved in relationships. There's not, it's very muddy. And so I talk to my moms a lot about, it's okay to hold these two opposing thoughts and be okay with both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's offered them a lot of like just kind of like freedom in their brain to be okay that I can feel these two things at the same time. That is okay.
A lot of we do struggle with knowing that two things can be true. Two things can definitely be true.
And that's a huge thing that keeps people from seeking therapy, because if I go to therapy and I talk about how I don't have this great relationship with my mom because she told me I was stupid, then I'm saying she was a bad mom. It's not what
That's
you're
not
saying.
true. Right.
It's not true. Two opposing thoughts can be true at the same time.
Which it is, and that's just you saying that is just another reason why going to counseling is so important, because we need to change that thought process. Like, because just having that thought process in itself is messing with your mental, because It's just not true.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just not true.
Yep.
What's the most effective therapy for moms?
I saw that question when you sent it yesterday. I'm like, what? There is no.
I knew you were gonna say that. I have to put what I know you're gonna say, Mackenzie. Yes. I have to.
Yes. There is no one therapy for one person. There just isn't. I mean, there are modalities that work more effectively. So I do, like I said, I do EMDR with my clients. I am a terrible EMDR client myself.
Really?
I am. Because I'm a therapist and I know how to like turn stuff off.
Yeah.
My therapist, she just laughs at me and shakes her head, and I'm like, sorry, but I
believe it.
Don't want to be that way. So I keep going every month. I have a 3-hour intensive with her, and we just keep hashing it out.
Well, you're intentional about it, so that's one step,
Yes. Yeah. So really, I think an important thing for people to keep in mind is you may have to try out a couple of therapists before you find like the one that you really like jive with. And that's okay. As therapists, many of us, we are not offended by that. I always tell clients, let's meet for a couple of times. If you don't feel like I'm the therapist for you, not a problem. I will help you find that person. I know a lot of people. I can send referrals. I can give you names, whatever. And a lot of people will just like, they don't want to hurt my feelings. They don't,
Mm-hmm.
they just ghost me. I'm like, well, that hurts my feelings more.
Way more.
And I want to make sure you're okay because, like,
Right.
yes, I've met with you for 30 minutes and I care about you even in that 30 minutes.
Right. And I'm thinking about you, like, are you okay?
Right? Yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, they just, people, and I mean, some of it is some of their baggage as well, that, you know, they don't want to have that conversation, but, you know, they just, I think they feel more like we're going to be hurt or upset or whatever. I personally am never. I'm like, let me find you someone, because I want therapy. I have clients who are like, I can't wait to see you this week. I'm like, great. I want all of my clients to feel that way, that the therapy is not a chore.
Right.
It needs to be something that you want to do, that you look forward to doing, that you get something out of. It doesn't need to be a, oh, I have to put this on my to-do list.
Yep.
You know?
Like that job you don't like going to. Yeah. I know it was a silly question, but I had to ask it because I'm like, it sounds silly, but people are like, well, what do I need? And I'm like, well, there's not one set, you know, and they need to hear from a professional. Yeah. So thank you, Miss Mackenzie.
You're welcome. That's a thing that like with like the trendy things, like everyone's like, I want EMDR, and they don't even know what it is. They just hear the buzzwords, and
they hear EMDR, they hear CBT,
yeah,
and they're like, oh, okay. I'm like,
yeah,
but do you know what your it's kind of like, I am happy that more people are like learning the words and like, you know, but now we just take that and let's start learning, actually learning, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, dissecting
I've had people be like, well, I want to do CBT. I'm like, we have been.
Yeah, like
therapy. CBT is me challenging you, like, well, is there a different way you could think about that? Like, and you know, CBT is kind of old, and it goes well with other modalities and whatnot. But I'm like, that's what we are doing. And they're like, oh, okay. I'm like,
and I saw that you said that you incorporate the mindfulness. I really think that's important. Yeah. I like when people incorporate using their body in therapy too. Like, you know, some therapists take you out. Yes, you definitely. I'm big on that because I like to move around. If I sit for too long, I'm like, okay. Yeah. So I like just, you know.
So many things like play off of each other. Like there's a lot of parts work that you can do in EMDR, because we have little people that are like still hurting inside of our adult bodies. And so, you know, connecting with them and repairing those relationships. And then the somatic work, I'm real good about like shutting my body down and being like, I don't feel anything, because it's painful. Nobody wants to drag that stuff up. Yeah. But in order to get it out, and not to belabor the phrase, but the body holds the score. Like, our bodies hold trauma, they hold feelings. And so people with chronic pain and fibromyalgia and a million other things, inflammation, all of those things have some sort of connection with trauma. So
we have to work through it and not ignore it. We try to bury it, and we're like, okay, well, I'm not thinking about it anymore, so it must be fine. But like you said, those little people in there, they're feeling it now, so you're still feeling it.
And when you have this gigantic, like, weird, like, reaction to something, that is your first clue.
That's right.
Maybe that's not gone. Maybe
when you know you're not usually like that. Like, why did I just react like that? Because just built up.
Who was that?
That was you.
Yep, that's a trauma response. Substance abuse is a trauma response.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And I'm glad you said that, because people, start drinking a lot or start smoking or whatever. Like, no, that's not healthy. It's really, truly not healthy. And I see it a lot in like my peers, the younger people. I'm like, it's getting younger and younger. When I was in high school, I feel like nobody was, not like everybody's smoking. I'm like, hold on, what's going on?
What's happening?
It's moving way too fast. I want better for the youth. So do you have a message for any mom out there that might be listening, any mom or somebody who wants to become a mom, but they're scared and they have all these fears and anxieties? Do you have anything to tell them?
Oh, how long do we have? I do. I have a lot of things to tell them.
Yes, tell them.
I
Tell
mean,
us.
motherhood is wonderful and it's hard.
Hmm.
Anything is, everything is. And if we let fear, if I let my fear of certain things take over, I'm never leaving my house again.
Right.
So, yeah. And it's okay to be scared. It's okay. It's a huge life change. And it's okay to choose not to parent a child. That's okay
Hmm.
too. And you just have to really think about and talk about what you're thinking and what you're feeling, because some of them are just normal fears and some of them are irrational and some of them are just too big for you to get over, and that's okay. For those who are moms, you're doing a fabulous job, and it's okay to still go talk to someone even though you're doing a fabulous job,
Right.
because we just all need support. It does take a village. Like, that is one of the very few phrases that I will always say, and it will
It's
never
a true one.
for me. It does take a village, and again, like you said, it is so helpful to know that you're not alone.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
I love that.
Say.
One of the biggest things that you said was you don't have to have a kid. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on that.
Yeah.
Think just because, you're a woman that said you have to have children, or you're a woman, so you have to be the stay-at-home mom. It's just all these just misconceptions that I don't appreciate, honestly.
Agreed. We are so much happier when we do what's best for us, not
Hmm.
what's best for what other people think. They'll get over it. They'll deal with it.
I don't even know where that came from, this ideal that you should tell other people, or not, that you want to tell other people what to do. I don't really get that. I don't really get that, just let them be happy.
Yeah. Live their own lives. I
You're
don't
right.
know. Yeah.
Right. Just let them do them, and they'll come around.
Yeah.
So I just have one final question, Mackenzie.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the message that you want to give to your younger self? If you could tell a little Mackenzie something right now, what would you tell her?
I don't know. I would probably tell her that she's doing a good job.
A great job, Mackenzie.
Thank you.
Of course, doing a great job.
It's taken a while for me to get there, but
it's a journey, but we get there. We get there.
Yes,
we get there.
Yeah,
I'm happy for you. I really enjoy talking to you. You're
love
so
you.
bubbly.
Awesome.
You're so
Thank
sweet. You give me that vibe, like, yeah, you can help people. You make people feel happy. You make people feel secure. Like, I really enjoy talking to you.
Thank you.
And I can tell you're great at your job.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited for Texas to get you in the field and for you to do your thing. That's going to be amazing.
I'm so excited. Little nervous, but definitely excited. Yes. I think the nerves, that just naturally comes. Yeah. All y'all are amazing. You are worthy. You are blessed, and you are the best. We will see y'all next time. Bye.